All right, it's time for Yogi and the BeachMan. Hi, I'm Jim the Yogi.
And I'm Rick Beach the BeachMan.
We're two Michigan transplants now living in Southwest Florida.
In fact, we're cousins born in 1964, just a month apart.
I like to meditate.
And I like to play bass in a band.
I'm into chanting Om.
And I'm into throwing down some classic rock.
But together, we're on a mission
to promote people that are helping other people.
We want to make the world a better place.
One conversation at a time.
So sit back,
turn up the volume,
and get ready to laugh.
Because we like to have fun
while we spread the love.
Interviewing lovely people. Yes, we have fun.
How long have you been doing this? What do? You obviously you're a yogi. Do you teach yoga?
I used to, and I used to have my own studio, and I ran a yoga retreat center for a while. Then I got into nursing and did labor and delivery nursing for about 5 years. Now I'm working as a foot care nurse. So a variety of things.
Yeah. So what started you and you podcast? Your podcast is based on different spiritual modalities and healing modalities.
Well, we our whole spiel is about helping or promoting people that are helping other people.
Oh, okay, that's
so
cool.
it covers a wide range of modalities. I mean, we've had everything from different types of doctors and spiritual leaders and different healers and all kinds of things. So.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Thank you.
That's really cool. I have a podcast too. That's what this is. It's for the love of eating from the earth.
Okay.
That's my podcast. It's I fell on Christmas Day and broke my tailbone and crushed a few discs. And so I haven't been as active on my podcast the last month or so because it's just been
just this past Christmas you did that?
Yep. I was doing really great. Actually, I was feeling so much better, and I'm not sure. I think a couple of my discs ruptured last week, and so I'm sitting here in a back brace and wrapped up in ice, and
oh my God.
So but it's healing. It's definitely healing. I'm allowing my body to do it itself. I'm using cryotherapy and a chiropractor, and a lot of intermittent fasting and extended fasts, and it's getting better, but it's just
good.
It's just so I haven't been as active on my podcast as I'd like to be, because sitting at my desk can be difficult, but thank God for every now and then we do have to go see the allopathic doctors and ask them for a steroid shot.
Well, I mean, thank you for being on our show. I mean, there's a level of suffering that you're doing just to be here, I'm sure.
I'm good right now. Actually, I'm really good. I've spent the whole weekend on ice and then on heat, back and forth, and my husband is taking care of all the bending over that needs to happen around here with chores and gardening and all of that. So I've had a couple of days to heal, and I'm in no pain right now. Thank God. I have no pain, and I've had no ibuprofen or Tylenol or anything. So I think today is going to be a great day. You guys are in Naples?
No, we're in Port Charlotte.
You're in Port Charlotte. Oh, I'm doing an event up there.
Oh, really?
I'm teaching yoga up at the pool festival behind Twisted Fork at the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
When is that?
March 29th.
Oh, is that the reggae one?
Yeah. That Jason Green, the Green Brothers are putting on.
Yeah, I saw that post on your Facebook feed there, and I was like, oh, that sounds like a great time.
Yeah, it's right there by you. It's right in your backyard. It's gonna be a Johan Marley is gonna be the headliner. Bob Marley's grandson. Yeah.
Very cool.
Cool stuff. There's a pre-event where it's a wellness event where I'll be teaching yoga, doing a guided meditation, and just doing some real simple Kundalini yoga. Doesn't require a lot of like back bending.
Do you have to sign up in advance for the yoga class?
No, I don't think so. You can, if you just put going on there on the Facebook invite, that's given us an idea of how many people we're going to have.
Okay. All right. Very cool.
Yeah. And I think that is free with the ticket, and it's free. I think it's free without the ticket. It's just, if you don't have a ticket to the show after the wellness event, then it's just, moving on to whatever else. Yeah. You gotta go.
That's March 28th?
29th.
29th.
Yeah.
And I think we're there the day before.
Right. Rick's in a band, and he plays at the Twisted Fork occasionally.
What band are you in? I bet I've seen your band. We go listen to music there all the time.
We've only been there once, and it was a month ago. And our second one is coming up. We're JJ and the Bad Habits.
JJ and the Bad Habits. What kind
Yeah,
of music do you guys play?
classic rock and stuff you haven't heard of.
Oh, I've heard of it. I'm
Well,
not as young.
no,
I'm not as young
obscure.
as Zoom.
We do some obscure stuff you haven't heard.
Gotcha.
Sides and
Yeah, we did. It's a fun band.
And so when are you guys there? The 28th?
I'm looking right now. 27th.
The 27th. Okay. Maybe we'll come up and
we're warming up for the Tom Petty tribute band.
oh yeah, they got the best tribute bands there. We saw the Pantera one there a few months ago.
Oh, that's a little headbanging. We'll get along just fine.
Yeah, we're headbangers. We used to be. Our spines don't let us bang our heads anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
How are you teaching yoga? Speaking of your spine, how are you going to be teaching yoga with all the back issues you got going on?
Well, I have been teaching. I teach 2 days a week.
Wow.
On a regular basis, but when my back's acting up, I've been fine for like the last couple of months. I've been fine. I think I just kind of overdid it one day and knocked those discs out again. But I can Kundalini. I can do Kundalini because it's more just breathing and repetitive movement over and over again. But the yoga flow that I teach on a regular basis, I'm just having to use dialogue and walk them through it and talking them through it. You know, I can demonstrate some things as long as I'm not having to bend over too much. Yeah.
Welcome back to Yogi and the BeachMan. Today we are with Laura Poche. She is a certified holistic health coach. She has a background in Ayurvedic medicine. She's an author of the book For the Love of Gut. I love that title. And she's also a podcaster, running a podcast called Eating from the Earth. We're so big on that. We want to help promote that in every way we can, Laura.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm Jim the Yogi.
And I'm Rick Beach, the BeachMan. And we are Yogi and the BeachMan.
Yeah, and we're thrilled to have you with us, Laura. And
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and you're like in our neighborhood. You're down the street pretty much in Naples, Florida, you said?
Yep. Right. North Naples, almost on the border of Bonita. So about an hour and a half from you.
That's not bad at all. I'm doing in-home nursing. It's actually within my route, so I cover everything from Naples to Tampa.
Oh, that's a long area.
Yeah,
long span.
I love driving.
And I covered your turf for work for years, so I know exactly where you're at. I had a run-in with the Bonita Beach building department years ago.
Oh yeah, that's good times. Anything
it is.
Anytime you got to deal with permitting and all. We're building right now too, and it's fun. Good times.
Well, Laura, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Laura Poche, and I am a certified holistic health coach. I specialize in gut health based in Ayurvedic medicine. I was about 2017 is when I started my health journey. I was extremely sick. I dealt with fibromyalgia, Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, and just a plethora of physical issues. I couldn't lose weight. I didn't eat very much at all. I usually didn't have much of an appetite. I couldn't lose weight. I was always inflamed, and I couldn't understand why. I felt like I was eating healthy. I was eating the things that the doctor suggested. I was following the diet my allopathic doctor had given me. And I was on all of these different medications, and I was deteriorating to the point where I couldn't really walk anymore. So I was bedridden. I was on disability. I had lost my job with Nordstrom, which I valued so highly. I was a divisional manager with Nordstrom, and I'd lost my job. And so, I was just at a point where I'm like, this is crazy. I'm as sick as my grandmother was when she was in her 70s, and I was in my 40s. Wow. And I couldn't put my mind around what I could possibly do to change the way I felt. And it was at that point that, in my desperation, that my husband found a couple of holistic remedies for me to try. One of them was CBD oil. I started taking that. And after about a month of taking that, I started to notice some subtle changes. I started noticing less pain. I could move around a little bit more, but I was still so far from where I needed to be. And within about a year, I met a woman that I was doing an estimate for my husband's business, and I met her and we started talking about health, and I just started telling her about all my problems. I don't know why I was doing that, but I just felt led to share with her how I felt. And she invited me to breakfast, a couple of days later. And she and I went to breakfast, and she introduced me to some different healing modalities that I had never heard of. And she started talking about, like, the first thing she started talking about was the food that I was eating, the food that I believed to be healthy food, starting with the base of the food pyramid, right? That great food pyramid, I was eating my whole grains like a good girl, I was eating just a little bit of fat, and, and then she started talking to me about my liver and about cleaning my liver. And I'd never really given any thought to that, and I wasn't a drinker, so I didn't really, think much about,
Detoxing.
the liver and all of that. And she introduced me to celery juice, which I started, everything she told me, I just knew in my heart that I had to do it. Everything she told me, I was just ordering it on Amazon, just everything she told me. And I got started, and that was the beginning of my journey. And from that point, I drank celery juice for a long time. I was able to detox my digestive system to the point where I was able to get off of all aids for digestion, laxatives and things like that. I was able to get all of that out of my system. I was able to get my digestive system back to working on its own again. And then through the journey, I eventually dropped off the celery juice, and I started studying, like, what's really in our food. What are we really eating? And little by little, my mind started to open, and I started to wake up, and I could not believe the level of toxins that were in our food. And that's was why I was so sick. So fast forward to about 3 years ago, my husband and I started going to Arizona for the summer. We would take our RV and we would go over to Arizona, and we would spend the summer there. And the second summer that we went there, I wrote For the Love of Gut. And while I was writing that, I was learning so much about what these different foods, what these different toxins in the foods were doing to different parts of the body. But it was all centered around the liver and the endocrine system. And like most people, I didn't know anything about the endocrine system. I had thyroid disease. I've been on thyroid medicine for 30 years. I didn't know anything about any other part of the endocrine system besides my thyroid. Well, the fact of the matter is that it all works together. And when you just treat one part of the thyroid or one part of the endocrine system, it's, you're basically just, it would be like painting a wall, but only painting one spot, right? And not painting the rest of the wall. And that's exactly what happened with my endocrine system. Once this medication went in, everything else started going haywire. So as I was studying about the endocrine system, and as I was studying about the diet, for writing this book, I was just amazed, just completely amazed at what's happened to our society. And as I was writing this book, every chapter my husband would proofread with me, so he's going on this journey with me too, getting healthy. And then I'm just getting angry, and then I'm just getting angry, and I'm just like, I cannot believe that this has been intentional. This poisoning of the American people has been intentional.
Sure.
And this is a crisis bigger than any other going on in our country today, is the fact that we are all being poisoned by the food, by our food system. And so as I continue to write and continue to learn, the scope of the madness was just broadened to the point that I was able to get so much information in this little tiny book on how to,
because it kind of faded in and out because of your green screen.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. It was and as I continued to write and things started to open up, I was amazing, the physical changes that I started going through. I
Mhm.
was able to do things that I haven't been able to do in years. I was able to hike in Arizona, altitude. I couldn't handle altitude. I could hike in high altitudes. I could walk again for miles and miles. And, so I felt like, that it was so important that what I found, the information that I found from infinite intelligence, which is where we end up through meditation, the information that I found and that I studied and that I verified needed to be shared. Other
Absolutely.
people needed to know that you don't have to live like this. You don't have to live in a dark world of depression and sickness and disability. You don't have to. And
Mhm.
I'm so grateful that I found it, and I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to share it.
Well, we're glad you're here to share it because we're right on board with you. We're so much about promoting, you know, good plant-based diets and eating. If you're going to eat meat, eat the right amount of meat, eat good meat, and to get off the processed food train, get off the pharmaceutical wheel. We talk about it all the time. So,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that's what your podcast is based on too.
Yeah, my podcast is so once I started learning about how even our vegetables that are in the grocery store are so toxic, they're coated with this stuff that makes them
Mm-hmm.
shiny and pretty, which is very toxic. And actually in its natural form, it's just bug poop, but once they take it and they process it, it becomes extremely toxic. So I started growing my own food. I had a friend of mine who had a big garden, and she taught me how to grow different things. And I don't have a lot of growing space, so my niche is kind of small space gardening. Like
Mm-hmm.
everyone can do it. Everyone can grow a percentage of their own food. And so I have about 100 square feet of garden space, and I'm able to grow most of the vegetables that me and my husband eat, with the exception of things like potatoes, which I could do that if I got the big thing, but not there yet. But I grow several different types of lettuces and greens and tomatoes and peppers and onions and cantaloupes and honeydews and just a plethora of different vegetables. So yeah, my podcast focuses mostly on um, finding a way to eat directly from the earth, whether you grow it or you buy it from someone else that grows it, and different benefits to doing that. So that's pretty much what my podcast is about.
That is really awesome. Are you familiar with a guru by the name of Sadhguru?
No, I'm not.
That's okay. So he's a world-renowned guru. He's hugely followed in India. And a few months ago, or a few weeks ago, I'm not exactly sure when it was, he was on the Joe Rogan show.
It was last week.
Was it last week?
It's
Oh,
the latest episode.
Okay. So
okay. Gonna listen to that for sure.
yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
the whole thing, I mean, he's planted millions of trees. He's done all this different work around the world. He talks at huge events where billionaires are and different things. But his big thing right now is talking about the soil and how we're destroying our soil and the microbes in it, and the way we farm is just ridiculous for that. And the issue with it, because he's saying that our food now is so much less nutrient dense because we don't have the microorganisms in our soil for the plants um, to really thrive and to really produce good, healthy vegetables and fruits with the nutrients it needs in it. So and
Because of monoculture was basically.
a lot of because of the monoculture, exactly. Did you listen to it?
I missed most of it.
Oh, okay, great podcast, by the way. Anyway,
He
yeah,
said you'd have to eat like even oranges. Yeah, and he's pretty much an expert in this stuff. Even oranges, one one orange 50 years ago, you'd have to eat like 10 today to get the equivalent amount of nutrients out of it. Or
Yeah.
or green beans or whatever,
mhm,
along those lines because of what Jim's mentioning. It's you can't get it into your nutritional system if it doesn't start in the earth and have
all the right nutrients in
yeah
there.
all the
Yeah.
right nutrients. So we're just blazing through our farmland basically is
Hmm.
was the point there, which makes a lot of sense. I grow a
Yeah.
lot of my own stuff too. I have half a dozen tomato plants and some lettuce. And nothing's cooler than making a hamburger and going out and snip some lettuce right off your
Yes.
out of the
Yes.
ground. And
Hmm.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
even forget about washing it sometimes. And I'm like, oh no. But when you really wouldn't have to
You
wash
wash
it.
it with the water hose when you water it, right?
Well, I did, but what happens? It splashes, the dirt splashes back up, and then I said,
Get a little bit of grit.
yeah. So, yeah. But
God made dirt. Dirt don't
That's
but
hurt.
that really doesn't hurt
right.
you.
No,
You
just a
know,
little more microbes for your gut. Probably
microbiome.
good for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And if it does have some bugs on it, that's some good protein.
Well, so you must be on board with the new administration's "Make America Healthy Again" because, uh, what RFK is doing is bringing an awareness to this that wasn't out there even a year ago. I hear people talking about it now that you would never think of it, that would even care about this stuff, and they. When they go to Publix or Winn-Dixie to buy the groceries, half their stuff's full of boxes and cans of processed food, and now not. I think it's becoming. There's an awareness that there wasn't a couple of years ago.
Yes, there is. There is. I am so pleased to be able to watch this happen. It makes me so happy. Every time I see a post about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he's just, he is a true blessing to our country and, to humankind in general. His ability to be able to transfer his feelings and to be able to communicate the way he can communicate this information fearlessly. I mean, there's a lot of money and there's a lot of fear behind our food system. The Food and Drug Administration, they work together. Monsanto Foods is now owned by Bayer. So I mean, the drug company that makes the drugs to fight lymphoma that's caused by Monsanto's poison are now one company, and I mean, that's it. That doesn't tell you something, I mean, but what you were talking about the soil, about what I think that you were talking about, what you were talking about the soil is, if you ever look at like farmland, right? Like just when you're driving across country, you're driving somewhere, you see vast farmland, soybeans or cotton or whatever's growing in large amounts. You'll never see a mushroom growing in that soil. And if you don't have mushrooms in your garden, then your soil is not good. And so you as you fertilize with good organic fertilizer, as you fertilize the soil with that, and you keep it as moist as it needs to be, when you start seeing mushrooms pop up, then you're doing it right. And it means that it's full of nutrition in that soil. You're not going to see that in this vast farmland across the United States. You're not going to see mushrooms because it's completely depleted soil.
Yeah. I wonder if he's going to go as far as to get the Supreme Court to reverse its decision to make life patented, because that's how all this started. It was when they got the Supreme Court to allow them to patent life, to patent the seed, the genetically modified seed, which the Constitution, from what I understand, outlaws being able to put a patent on life. But then they did it, and they allowed all that GMO corn to spread through our country, sued the farmers for growing corn, which they didn't even know now was GMO. So Monsanto now owns a patent on the seed that you've been, growing corn your whole life and taking some of those seeds and replanting them. So you're growing your own crop. Now Monsanto comes along, produces this GMO corn, gets it spread throughout this farmer's crops, and this happened all throughout our country, and then tests their crop and says, oh, you're growing our seed, we want a cut of that. And they sue these farmers. And then the only way the farmers could get out of it was to sign an agreement with Monsanto or these other companies that are doing the same thing. And they had non-disclosure agreements. They can't even talk about the agreements they made with these farmers. So now they're caught in this loop of getting subsidized by the government, growing this corn that they have to buy from the seed companies, that they have to spray with glyphosate, however you say that, the Roundup, to even get it to grow, and then you have to keep spraying it to keep it healthy. I mean, that was a crime. That was a crime in our country. They stole agriculture from the farmers.
They sure did. They sure did. And Haiti, this is very interesting. This is kind of what woke me up when I heard this, because everybody talks about how Haiti has just destroyed their country, and all of the bad things they do, and that's why the Dominican is so great and Haiti's so bad. It's because of the Haitian people, but it's not. That's not why they don't have food. Monsanto has been sending seed over there for years, and Haiti refuses to use that seed. They burn the seeds in the streets, and as a result, they are, they're any kind of agricultural subsidization, or any kind of agricultural help from Monsanto or from any of the big food companies is completely shut off to them. So they don't have seeds to grow because they refuse to use Monsanto seeds. And so, so much of what's going on over there probably has a lot to do with that, I would imagine. But Haiti refuses to use them. China will not allow genetically modified foods in their country. Russia will not allow Monsanto's genetic. No one allows it. Us in Canada, that's pretty much it. And that's got to say something. 70% of Americans are overweight or obese.
Yeah.
1 in 33 children in the United States are born with autism. That's got to say something about our food supply.
Yeah, and we have a lot of trust in our government organizations, or we did, like in the FDA and the USDA. But what a lot of people don't realize is the leaders of these groups, they go through a revolving door. Every administration brings in their own new leaders from either the pharmaceutical companies or the Monsantos or whatever. And these are the same people that are profiteering off of our sickness and bad food are now making the decisions of what they allow and what they don't allow in the country.
Right.
It's a crime.
It is a crime. It is a crime. And, I just saw this morning a post on Facebook. I can remember the name of okay, it is called thalidomide. You guys remember hearing that term? I had never heard it, but in the 1960s, late 50s and 60s, thalidomide was given to pregnant women to help ease morning sickness. And as a result,
and how are you spelling that?
thalidomide, thalidomide, I think is how you say that. So it's known as the thalidomide tragedy. The widespread use of thalidomide in the 1960s resulted in thousands of children being born with severe disabilities. And the disabilities were that their limbs didn't sprout. So their arms and legs didn't sprout. So they had tiny little buds of arms and legs. And thousands of children were born with this. It took thousands of children to be born with this for them to say, hey, stop giving this to pregnant women. Right? And
yeah, that's terrible.
But if you think about it, we haven't come very far.
No.
From the middle-eyed tragedy, right? We haven't come very far from that, because the foods that we are consuming now is causing autism, is causing dementia, is causing all of these strange birth defects that we see today. I mean, how many children do you know personally that have a birth defect? I know many, and think about when we were young, how many we knew. We didn't know very many.
Well, it's certain. You're correct that these GMO foods and pesticides and everything that I'm not sure though if you can link that with autism. Granted, when we were kids, in the 60s and early 70s, it was about 1 in 10,000 births were to autistic kids. Now it like you said, 1 in 30 something. But I'm not certain that's a matter of diet. I don't think there's any evidence of that. You kind of get into the whole vaccination and the childhood vaccine schedule and the MMR and the lack of testing on these vaccines that I think might have a bigger correlation with the autism issue than diet.
Well, yeah, I definitely agree with you with the vaccine. The vaccines, the amount of vaccines kids get now is absolutely insane, and really it does no good for the child. It does most of the good for the drug company that sells it. High fructose corn syrup, though, has a very strange effect on the brain. It actually shrinks the brain. So Alzheimer's disease is a shrinking of the brain, a deterioration of the brain. And there is a link from, of course, there's links with aluminum, there's links with environmental toxins, but there's also a very strong link with high fructose corn syrup. So if high fructose corn syrup is literally deteriorating the brain, then it would stand to reason that when a woman was pregnant and she was consuming this, that it would inhibit, right? It would stop or harm the development of the fetus's brain that she's carrying. That's my thought process on that.
Absolutely. That makes sense to me. I mean, it's soy's an issue too. I mean, so many children grew up on soy formula and it's super high in estrogen, but we don't think about all the effects of dosing our kids with high amounts of estrogen has.
Right. No, and the first ingredient in those soy formulas are corn syrup.
Corn syrup, yeah.
Yeah, it's the first ingredient in them. So yeah, I
can't remember what we were in shopping the other day, and I'm trying to think of what aisle I was in, but I wanted to get something I normally don't buy, and Carrie picked it up off the shelf and she said, "Oh, the first ingredient was high fructose corn syrup," and I avoid it like the plague. I mean, like I look at it, if it says high fructose corn syrup, it is poison. I mean, I don't drink Gatorades, no sodas. I just don't. But people just don't realize that it really saddens me that we go grocery shopping. I'm sitting there and I have as much organic stuff as I can buy. And we've talked before, if your grocery store has a health food section, what's the rest of the grocery store? It's not health food. It's the anti-health food. But you see these people, I'm there with my greens and all fresh stuff. And it's hard to keep. I think same with Jim. You go open my fridge or his, there's really nothing in there because you have to make several trips to the grocery store a week to keep fresh stuff in there. If you're not eating out of bags and cans and boxes. And but then you see someone behind you with their 2 or 3 kids just loaded up with all that just junk. And I'm not going to proselytize to these folks in the checkout line, but I want to.
I do too. But they will kick you out for that. So
yeah. but you might get arrested for that.
Yeah, they don't like it.
But what you started off with is so true, that the knowledge is coming around, and once we start seeing ads from RFK, which there just was one recently, I'm getting off these processed foods. It's baby steps because it's a long journey and it's not easy and it's not inexpensive either. It costs quite a bit more in the short term to eat well and eat organically and to keep these chemicals out of your body if you can. But in the long term, it definitely is a save.
In the short term, it's like it's sticker shock. That's what it is. It's sticker shock. And then you decide where you want to spend your money. Right. So do you want to spend your money on stuff that's really not going to serve your body much purpose? Or do you want to spend your money on the most important thing in your life, which is your food? That's where you should be putting the bulk of your money. If it means that you have to pull money out of buying a new pair of $300 sneakers every 2 months or getting a new iPhone every year, if you have to pull money away from those things and put that into your food, that's a much wiser decision. And it's going to take you a lot further in life than those $300 Adidas will take you. Right.
Absolutely.
Not too far from you, probably about an hour, there's a place in Punta Gorda, Warden Farms. Have you heard of it?
Yeah. I've seen the sign for it.
It's a co-op natural farm. If you look on their website, and I still have to go do this, but it's on my list, where they have seasonal baskets where you go there once a week, it's $30 or $40 or whatever, and they'll give you whatever's in season. You're gonna get a whole basket, enough to last you the week. Then you go out there the next Saturday, you're picking it, what's in season.
That is such a great way.
Is not, it's going to be different in November or June. You can't grow tomatoes in July in Florida, but you can now. And they're awesome if you can get them, because a tomato, I forget what they spray on this stuff. They spray them when they're green. so they'll turn red, but they all taste like cardboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you get a
it's
real tomato
ripened.
grown out of the ground right now, and a friend of mine grows them not a few blocks away, and he gave me a few, and I actually kept a bunch of seeds. So now I have a bunch of heirloom seeds from this guy, my neighbor,
Yes.
and I'm looking forward to next year, you know, putting those in the ground in the fall.
Yes.
But if you can find a local farm like that who is in step with your values and what you want for nutrition in your life, you can do it at a good, at not too expensive. But it's such a learning curve, and it really takes a long time, especially if you have kids, to get them on board, because they go to school and they're going to get their crap.
Right.
They're going to get sodas and Domino's pizzas for lunch and get their sugar buzz after they had their or their Fruit Loops this morning with their red dye number 2. They get all jacked up on sugar, and then at 10 o'clock they have their crash. Then they go to lunch and they eat their sugar and their sodas and their pizza, and they get another big sugar buzz. And then we wonder why they're all hyped up and amped up, and but they must need some Ritalin now because they're all, you know, your kid is not focused. So, you know, you
That's
really need
so
to take to the doctor.
Yeah.
That's so terrible. That's so terrible, isn't it? It's just so, well, okay. So in my book, I think it's the third chapter 3 is called Waking Up. And it's about deprogramming your mind. And we have all been programmed to eat the way we eat. You know, I mean, just inundated with advertisements on every platform. Pizza Hut, cookies, Cokes, all this stuff. Every single major sponsor for every single television show is some kind of a major food that most people purchase, either Coca-Cola, Lay's potato chips, some kind of big poisonous food type. And
Ozempic.
And now it's
big pharma, yeah.
Big food or big pharma, yeah. And I actually made a video one time where I just videoed the commercial stream on Get Up on ESPN. I'm a big football fan. I love during football season. I watch ESPN every morning, and so I'm just videoing this series of commercials, and you could just see the progression. You could see where it starts out with, first they're making you feel good by showing you this delicious pizza, and then they show you some other kind of garbage food, Subway I think it was, and then it was some kind of a soft drink, and then it was a pharmaceutical. You know, I mean, it's just like you could see the progression.
When these foods make you sick, have these drugs.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was probably like a diabetes drug or something. But you know, the way that I was able to find my path to healing and find my path to wellness was through deprogramming. And what that looked like was every morning, as soon as I woke up, and I was still in that theta brainwave stage. So my brain was still very impressionable. You know, when we sleep, we're very impressionable. So I popped my headphones in and I would turn on my affirmations, and the affirmations were for self-love. You know, that's why this is called For the Love of Gut, because it's an introductory guide to loving yourself from the inside out. And until you learn to really love yourself, your whole self, and that means your organs and your body and your muscles and your tissue and your bones, until you learn how to truly love that, you're going to have a hard time finding a path to healing, right? So the self-love affirmations were key in me making better decisions for myself. And it really just came organically. So as I listened to this and as I reprogrammed my mind, I started to make better choices. And I started to think of things like, wait, what is this doing to my pancreas? What is this doing to my kidneys? What is this doing to my liver? And it helped me to really kind of understand the systems of the body too. Once you form that connection with your body, you start to understand it better. And one of the biggest eye-opening things that I had was regarding the liver. When we eat processed food like high fructose corn syrup, soy, all of these things that we've been talking about, when we consume these things, the liver basically, and this also goes for alcohol too, overconsumption of alcohol. The liver says, okay, so this is a toxin. We have to get rid of this toxin. So basically the digestive system, everything shuts completely down until the liver has cleared the toxin out of the body. This can take up to 48 hours. And during that 48 hours, we are continuing to eat. It's not digesting. It is literally being stored around the liver as fat. And it doesn't get digested until we stop eating for a longer period of time and give the liver that opportunity. So it's kind of like the example I gave in my book is it's kind of like a refrigerator. You go to the grocery store and you stuff a whole bunch of food in there and you don't eat any of it. You just close the door. You don't eat any of it. And then you go back to the grocery store and you buy groceries all over again. And you just keep shoving these groceries into this refrigerator. And what's in the back is turning rancid and going bad, creating bacteria, creating disease. And it just keeps piling up and piling up. And until you start to consume what's there, the problem's not going to go away. And the only way to get rid of that is through fasting. Like, we have to stop eating so much as humans. We don't require this much food. And when we fast, the liver has the opportunity to work against that fat storage around the liver. People say, oh, fatty liver disease, I don't have that. But if you have been eating sugar most of your life, there's probably a good chance you do have fatty liver disease. Most Americans, I would imagine, have fatty liver disease. And intermittent fasting is a great way to get rid of that.
Do you get into, with the gut health, into prebiotics and probiotics in your book? And can you talk on that a bit?
Yeah, definitely. So a probiotic okay, let me start with why we need the probiotic first. So in the small intestine, we have these little straw-like structures that are
pretty cool.
They're called microvilli, and they do work like a straw. So as the liquefied food goes through the small intestine, through the digestive process, the microvilli extract nutrients from the liquefied food through these little straws, and they release it directly into the bloodstream. And that's how we get, nutritional value from our food. That's how we don't become malnourished. Now, things like gluten that's sprayed with glyphosates, I would say most American gluten, most American grains in general, and really grains in general overall, our systems weren't really set up to digest long grains like wheat, barley, oats, that kind of thing. Those were more for grazing animals. And as these go through, our body releases an enzyme that attacks the structure of the grain, attacks the glyphosates, attacks the different things in the grains, but it also attacks the microvilli at the same time. So it deteriorates the microvilli, and what's left behind is a little hole, which is of no use to the small intestine. It's basically like a sore. It can lead to things like diverticulitis and issues like that. But the bottom line is that because the straw-like structure is gone, there's a level of malnourishment now because the body can't absorb the nutrients. It can't extract the nutrients from the only place that it's getting nutrients through is through the chewing process when it's leaching into the mouth and into the thyroid and into those areas. That's the only place that the nutrition is happening. The main delivery of nutrition is supposed to happen in the gut, and that's not happening because of the lack of microvilli. Probiotics combined with a good diet can help to regrow those microvilli and help to repair those microvilli. So probiotics and prebiotics, it's like going in there and just helping to heal the whole small intestine and to help the process of digestion go a little smoother and allow for more nutrient absorption. So yeah, extremely important, especially during the healing process. Now, if we had not been eating these foods, if we had not been exposed to these toxins, then there would be no need for that because our body would be able to do it on its own naturally. I don't know that we will ever get to a point that we won't have to use this because there has been so much damage done over time,
Yeah.
And I don't know that we would ever get to a point where we wouldn't have to use probiotics and prebiotics. But if you are trying to heal your body, if you're trying to heal your gut, you definitely should have either taking a probiotic by mouth. I like to take the collagen peptides with the probiotics and prebiotics, but you can get it from kimchi, you can get it from sourdough, you can get it from lots of sauerkraut, any kind of fermented foods. Those will deliver those probiotics and prebiotics beautifully as well. I feel like you probably get more benefit out of eating foods that are fermented than you do from taking a probiotic.
Yeah, but we like our pills.
Yeah, I know. I put the little powder in my
I'm
coffee, but
kidding.
I eat kimchi almost every day too. But
Oh,
until
excellent.
I start to have the antihistamine or the histamine effect, where I start
Yeah,
feeling like my nose is stopped up, I've probably eaten too much kimchi.
sure. Yeah, when I said I've seen the microvilli in the small intestine, I wasn't kidding. In Europe, when you go to get when you're 50 and you do your colonoscopy, they don't put people under. Here, they put you under anesthesia, blah blah blah. And I was like, you know what? I'll let you do this, but I am not undergoing anesthesia to have this done. So when I did my colonoscopy, I was completely 100% awake. I didn't take all of the drugs that they want to clean you out. I just fasted and did hydrocolon therapy. Um, and they said I was as clean as they've ever seen anybody when they do the colonoscopy. So
Wow.
they go in and they're going, checking the whole thing, and I'm watching on this giant screen. It was really fascinating to watch. And when he got up to the end of the colon, and he's like, "You want to see your small intestine?" I'm like, "Sure." He just takes the camera, he's like, "Whoop," and he pops it a little bit into the small intestine, and you could see all those little microvilli all around in a circle. And there, it's like, what? It looks like something alien, but it was
Yeah.
totally incredible to see. And I was
Yeah.
thinking, wow. Wow, I forget how long the small intestine is, how many feet it is. It's pretty long.
Yeah.
I can
It's
imagine
really long.
yeah, all the food going in there and all these little like wormy kind of structures just absorbing all those nutrients. It's pretty cool.
So as you're doing this is crazy to me. I can't even imagine doing that awake. But did the doc say that you were like the only one ever to do this, or
Yeah, yeah. He says, yeah, we've never had a patient that
wants
wants.
to stay awake?
Yeah.
So was there any like did you have any type of numbing down there or what?
Some gummies.
You had to some gum really?
Yeah, I did some
Wow.
marijuana gummies before to just
To mellow you out a
deal
bit?
with the not to mellow me out, just to, I don't know,
No, I get
deal
it.
with some of the uncomfortableness.
No, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That
Because I
is
mean,
crazy.
what, our large intestines 5 feet, so
No,
they're
I
taking 5 feet of tube and putting it in you.
about the closest I get to that, I will watch. I had blood taken last month for my
Mm-hmm.
physical, and I will watch them stick me with the. And I think that's kind of cool to watch the blood
Mm-hmm.
squirt out of their little
Yeah.
test tube. But to do a colonoscopy, man,
Well, they don't put people under in Europe. I mean, the whole, everybody in Europe, they're awake for it. But
really,
here we're just like, I don't know, a
that's
little
wild.
too afraid something wrong's gonna
Well,
happen.
well, then you got the anesthesiologist. He's got to make his 2 grand for his 20 minutes worth of work. How long did it take?
The
Not long,
process,
right?
probably, I mean, they do a thorough job checking, all the little nooks and crannies, and I'd say probably close to an hour,
Really?
maybe less. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it's
well, when I did mine, it was you're out, so you don't know how. I don't
right.
remember. There
Yeah,
was no concept of time.
yeah.
But huh,
Huh.
interesting.
I mean,
That's very,
the
very interesting. That
part
seems
of the
very
reason they put you under here is
traumatic.
if they do puncture something or cause, if the gut's already partly destroyed and they stick a camera in there and all of a sudden they rupture you, there's the threat of that there's bleeding and all of a sudden they got to go in and do surgery.
Right.
But they could put you under in 10 seconds with anesthesia.
Well, yeah.
It's not like it's gonna life or death whether you're under or not. It's just convenient for them, and like you said, convenient for the medical system and the doctors because now they're making more money. But there's no reason to go under for a colonoscopy.
Yeah.
There really isn't.
I
I had
honestly
never
think that
even thought of that.
as our disease progresses, as we get sicker as a
Mm-hmm.
culture, there's
Mm-hmm.
things that there's telltale signs of our disease, and part of that is like a hypersensitivity to pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for a fact when I was sick, when I was dealing with autoimmune disease, I never wanted to be touched, ever hugged, nothing. It just hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Everything
Yeah.
hurt really bad. And I honestly think that the weakness that we see in our like what you went through, what you did, that takes some strength, that takes some courage. Our food, the chemicals in our food, it's affecting so much.
Yeah.
And it's such a broad spectrum of what's affected by the food, by the toxins in the food. And anxiety is a huge issue in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
It's in my book. I can't remember exactly how many, but it's all of that's controlled by the endocrine system. And there is a huge percentage of Americans that are on anti-anxiety medication. My husband is one of them. And when I was writing this book, my purpose was to find out everything I could find out to help my husband get off of that medication, at some point. But yeah, it's, we can't go through things like that. Americans can't go through things like that. We are so hypersensitive to pain, and we have so much anxiety, to the thought of
Well,
trying to.
you had mentioned like diverticulitis and other gut issues and problems. And when you go to my ex-wife has had these issues over the years with, and it was always some new malady, but there was always some new prescription. But your doc never will counsel you to, hey, go to Warden Farms and start eating better. And it's never it's never back to basics. It's never from the earth to see your sign behind it is the answer to your problems, or most of them.
Yeah.
Now, certainly there are some drugs that, pharma has its uses in certain situations, but it's never, when you go to a doc, it's always, here's my prescription pad. Here, take this, take that, take that. But most of this stuff, and I really truly believe that probably 80% of all the maladies that people have can, including your husband's, take an antidepressant, is diet and exercise. And when I start feeling stressed out or have that anxiety creep back in my life, then I know I'm not getting one or the other of those things. And
or you're breathing wrong.
yeah, well, and your breathing techniques have really helped me. That lower for blood pressure, and I I'm totally caffeine free now. I don't do any coffee. Well, when I had this really bad sinus. This time of year here, I really get hay fever and allergies, but I hate taking the what's Claritin and stuff like that, antihistamines.
Big pharma.
A big pharma. I just hate it, hate it, hate it. But I counter that by going down the street and buying local honey from the guy.
Yes.
And putting that in this turmeric and ginger green tea,
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so about 6-8 weeks ago, when the hay fever season started kicking up, I really just didn't want any coffee. And now I still don't. I mean, I'm not totally at church yesterday. After church, I grabbed a half a cup of coffee, but I don't go through the pot a day. I used to.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of coffee.
That is.
I was just a total junkie, but now I just have no desire. So it is once you get yourself and your life and your family, and a lot of time it's a spouse or your partner might not be on the same train you are. And it takes a while to bring them around, and hey, I'm not going to have Twinkies in the house, and I'm not going to, but if you can get two people on board, or two people that live together, you can really make a huge difference and get off the drugs and the anxiety and the this or the that, just from diet and exercise.
When you reprogram your mind, we are all energy. We're 100% energy. We share energy with one another, especially with those that we live with. We communicate more vibrationally than we do verbally. And when you start to change, when you change your energy, when you change your vibration, you can help to influence the change of the vibration of the people around you and the people that live with you. My children have followed somewhat, a couple of them, 2 of them, and 2 of them are still, back and forth with the junk food. But they're finding they don't live with me anymore, but and my husband went from being a complete Coca-Cola addict. Like his mother was 95 when she died and drank a Coca-Cola every day of her life.
Oh, wow.
And she had terrible dementia. And I took care of her. That really got me studying that too. And I had to take care of her. But he would never dare drink a Coke now. He wouldn't even consider it. He looks at the packaged food the same way I do. It's like Monopoly money. That's not even real food. Remember those little boxes of toy food that we used to get? I don't know if boys had that or not. I had it when I was a little girl. We got the shopping cart full of all the little play food, and there were little cardboard boxes of food,
Sure.
And we have like 22 daughters between us. So yeah, 22. There's lots of women in our lives, no sons. So yeah, we know all about your toy kitchens.
That's what that food to me looks like. That looks like that toy food that was in the grocery cart. when I was a kid. That's what it is. All these boxes and boxes of food. You think in your mind, oh, these Oreos are fresh baked. There's a little old lady in there mixing up some chocolate and some flour and making these cookies. And
the white sludge.
Keebler elves.
Yeah.
It's not real. It's not real food. And I think that part of the waking up process that we have seen since 2020, I mean, we've seen that since 2020, people waking up, that, more and more people are sharing this, that they view this food as being artificial and not real food. And that is powerful.
Another hard part for people that are coming off of that type of food is that the cigarette companies who bought, the food companies took their scientists and produced additives in the food, which then gives you endorphin releases, which makes you addicted to that type of food. Now you eat real food, whole food, and you're not getting all of that artificial stimulation of your brain to produce all these endorphins like it did from the toxic food. So for some people, it's a little bit like, I don't really get as much out of eating those fruits and vegetables. And it takes a while. It could take a year to reprogram your mind and your gut and your body to get off of these things. They are addictive. They're addictive for a reason, and they're addictive on purpose. So it's not always easy, but anybody can do it if they really put their mind to it.
No, it's not easy. And it does take, I mean, I think the next phase that we're kind of fighting is, and I've talked a lot about this on Facebook and on my podcast about the dangers of these, I don't even know how to say it, but the drugs that are related to Ozempic, glutamide, I think I'm not sure how you say that, but all of these people that we see on Ozempic now, in 5 to 10 years, are all going to be insulin dependent diabetics, because it shuts down your pancreas. So this drug says, here, I'm going to handle this culprit down here, your pancreas, this terrible guy down here shooting out all this insulin and making you fat. I'm going to handle this guy down here, and you go ahead and eat what you want, and you're going to lose weight because you're not going to be real hungry, but you can eat whatever garbage you want to eat. And I'm going to take care of this. And the problem with that is that once you make an organ stop doing what it's supposed to do, you can never, ever get off that medication and expect that organ to do what it's supposed to do again, just like thyroid, just like cholesterol medication. When a doctor puts you on cholesterol medication, you're probably not ever going to get off of that, because your body is dependent on it. The same
why would you? It keeps you healthy.
Yeah, no. And, and that's another cholesterol. What is that? I mean, normal levels of cholesterol are not what doctors tell you they are now. Over 200 is not a big, your brain needs that cholesterol. But if they withhold that cholesterol from us and keep us from getting all that in our brain, then we're a lot easier to program, right?
Yeah, they did studies on places around the globe that have the most centurions. And they took blood samples from some of these centurions and found that their quote unquote bad cholesterol levels
was over 300.
Yeah, were through the roof, high 2s, 300s. And these people are living to be over 100 years old. But here, oh no, those levels are bad. You're going to die. You're going to have a heart attack.
I know.
Don't look at our triglycerides.
No, I get
That's not
it.
a problem.
When I had my physical last month, my nurse practitioner, who I've known on a personal level for years, and then we had a discussion on statins and what they do. And I know more about what statins do to me and how they affect cholesterol than she did. They just have it's like a menu.
Yeah. It's like a rat card.
Cholesterol, but like Jim said, these people that live to 90, 100 years old, and Japan's lifespan is a lot more than ours, but their cholesterol is like, I'll never take another statin drug. It's the biggest scam ever for a lifetime of, I took statins for 10 years until I realized, what am I doing? Until I woke up, basically, probably 6-7 years ago. Now I take nothing. Absolutely
so
nothing.
Awesome. It's really hard to get off those statins. So that's very commendable that you were able to do that. And I'm sure it was probably a difficult transition, but it's hard to get off those drugs.
Not really. I just quit.
You just quit.
I did. I'm like, I am not taking this anymore.
You just
And
quit. That's good. I mean, that's great. I mean, I've tried to get off my thyroid medication. I had a heart attack when I tried to do it back when I was 39 years old, and I'm still on thyroid medication, but now I'm working with a holistic naturopath who is helping me balance it with herbs and decreasing the pharmaceutical thyroid supplement and increasing the herbal, and little by slow we're getting rid of
there's a doctor here in town, Dr. Robert Morse, Morse. Check him out and go to his website and look at, because he basically has his own line of herbal supplements. And I used to work at a car dealership here 20 years ago, and he would come in, and at the time we called him the quack doctor. The quack doctor would come in to buy cars. I would sell him one. I was his guy. And I called him the quack doctor forever. Well, then about 10 years ago, less than that, probably 6, 7 years ago, when I woke up on to all the stuff we've been discussing this morning, then Dr. Morse popped back in my head. And I'm like, maybe not such a quack doctor anymore. And so then I started watching his podcast, listening, becoming more educated. And now, that's mainstream. His wackiness 10 years ago or 20 years ago is now mainstream to me.
Yeah.
And I feel really ignorant for even admitting that, because this guy had a better way that when I was in my 40s, I could have taken advantage of, but I was on that same train everybody's on. You're
you couldn't, it wasn't anything you could control. Right. We were literally programmed to do this. I mean, we were brought up in front of a television screen, right? Especially, like Gen Xers. I mean, we sat in front of TV, everybody had a TV in their home by the time I was, a kid. And, we sat there and we watched all of all of these commercials, these kids eating the cereal, we have to have cereal, no one ever told us that that breakfast is supposed to be savory. It's not just supposed to be savory on a special occasion, right? It's supposed to be savory.
Like no one's
right. Oh, what the? Sorry. What is that? What is a Pop-Tart? Right? I mean, that is like, what is that?
Right. They're good.
They are. Your palate loves them.
I love them too. I mean,
but who decided that was food?
Right.
Who decided that?
And give it to your kids.
And give it to your kids. Yeah, right. I mean, it's like an investment in your dentist.
Yes, exactly.
There's a very interesting theory out now that I have been experimenting with for the last year or so. And I don't know how long this has been that people have practiced this or known about this, but I'm sure way back in the day, this lost information that we're all rediscovering, right? But if you eat in a certain manner, when you eat your plate, so you fix your plate and you put your fiber and you put your fat and you put your protein on your plate and your carbohydrate, your sweet potato or whatever. If you eat that food in a certain manner, so you eat your fiber first, Brussels sprouts or whatever, you eat a really good fiber rich vegetable first, and then you move on and you eat your fat, and then you eat your protein, and then you eat your carbohydrate last, that carbohydrate is not going to spike your blood sugar. You won't have a blood sugar spike from it. And there's been multiple tests done where you measure and I did it on myself as well. When you measure your blood sugar before you start eating, and then you measure it when you're finished eating. And when I eat in this manner, now I don't have issues with my blood sugar anymore. I used to have some issues with my blood sugar, but I don't anymore. When I eat in that manner and I test my blood sugar after, like I'm breaking my fast, you test your blood sugar right as you break your fast, then you eat and you wait about 45 minutes and you test it again. The spike was only a couple of points. And I ate a huge sweet potato with my meal, which should have spiked my blood sugar, right? And it didn't. And so that is a really great way to start to really change your body's composition. We pack on fat as a result of the blood sugar spikes. That's why the semi-glutamides, I think is how you say it, semi-glutamides, that's why they work well, is because they prevent that blood sugar spike because they shut the pancreas down. So anyway, that's a little tidbit.
I had a customer of mine turn me on to a monk fruit sweetener. Are you
Mhm.
guys, either
Yep.
of you guys familiar with that?
Oh yeah.
Because
Well,
I'm
you've
like
got to
I'm
be.
like shiny object guy. I'm like, oh, monk fruit, oh, it's no sugar, and I went out and bought some.
Hmm.
Well, I didn't do much research. I very basic, but what were you saying? You got to be
You
careful with that.
you got to be careful with with the ones that you buy in the store, because they say monk fruit, and then at the bottom it'll say with erythritol, but then when you turn the thing over, the number one ingredient is erythritol. Now, erythritol is a sugar alcohol, and our body produces it naturally, and it's naturally occurring in some fruits, but it's like, this much, right? Now, in the monk fruit sweetener, that's the majority of that. So you're putting 2 spoonfuls of monk fruit sweetener into something, you're getting a tremendous amount of sugar alcohol. Well, it's having the exact same effect on the liver that regular alcohol and sugar has on it. So you just got to.
Really?
Now, there is monk fruit extract, the powdered extract, organic monk fruit extract that you can purchase. I get mine from Amazon, from a small business that sells, and it's comes in a package. It's the I think it's the micro ingredients brand. It's what it's called, and it's an extract. It's actually just like the dried fruit. It's the same color as the fruit. So it's not white. When it's white, that usually means that there's been some bleaching involved.
Processing, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So this is just like it's I believe they use a freeze drying process to get the extract. I believe they freeze dry it. And then it's powdered, and it takes just like, just like this much, like a quarter teaspoon to sweeten a whole cup of tea, you can bake with it and that sort of thing too. But another really good sugar substitute is coconut sugar. And I think people are a little leery of it because it does have a sugar effect on your body. But I use coconut sugar in everything I bake. I really like sweet stuff. I like sweets, and I don't withhold myself. I eat my sweets, but I make them. I usually make them. There's always a lot of fruit involved, almond flour and things like that. But I use coconut sugar most of the time to sweeten it. But the great thing about coconut sugar is that if you had to use a whole cup of sugar for a recipe, you could use a half a cup of coconut sugar and get the same sweetness, same result from it. So that's a good option too. Coconut sugar is a really good option. Now it will break your fast. So if you're fasting, monk fruit extract and coconut sugar will break your fast.
Yeah, we use a lot of real maple syrup, not the Aunt Jemima's high fructose corn syrup, but real maple syrup and a lot of raw honey, like Rick was saying.
Yeah. And those are great
sweeteners.
options too. Those are great options too. Yeah.
Yeah, honey doesn't spike your blood sugar either. It metabolizes slowly like the sweet potatoes do, so you don't get those spikes.
Yeah.
Really...
Yeah. 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 That's important to control those blood sugar spikes and to, but I think a big part of, people trying to lose weight and trying to get healthy is that they start to withhold things from themselves, which causes constantly thinking about the thing you're withholding from yourself, right? And we know that anything that we think about, we're going to manifest, we're going to bring into our lives. So if you are withholding something and that's causing you to crave and desire another thing, you are going to manifest and bring that. You're going to eventually eat it. So, don't withhold things from yourself. Find better ways to reward yourself with those things or to allow those things for yourself. I'm really big on, I'm also a chef. I used to have a food truck, and I did that for years, but so I brought all of that knowledge into what I do. And so I'm always sharing lots of recipes, different recipes on how to, like, eat what you want to eat what you love to eat, but do it safely, do it from the earth, eat it from the earth.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show. We're getting close to the end of the hour. Any final thoughts that you have? Or things you want to share or promote for yourself?
Well, yeah, I would just like to say, first of all, thanks so much for having me on. It's been such a pleasure talking with you guys. I've enjoyed learning from you guys. I've learned so much today. You've told me things I've never heard of, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate the space to be able to share my message. The main thing I'd like to share is that while yes, I do like to make a living from what I do, my main priority is to help people find a healthier way to live, because it's a passion of mine. I know what it feels like to be sick and to be in pain and to not be able to function normally because of the toxins that are flowing through your system, and you don't know how to get away from them. And anybody that I have a Facebook page called Maximum Health, which I'm very active on. I will send a link to that as well. But anyone that wants to follow me can follow me there and become a part of the community. I would love anyone that has any questions about, changing lifestyle. I have a 6-month coaching program where I can help you move through this and change your lifestyle and change it to the point where it will stick and you will stay. You will have a completely different mindset. So, that would be the main thing I'd like to share is that, if you need help, if you want to learn how to be different and live your best life, I would love to have the opportunity to share with you how I've done it.
Excellent. And for those that want to come to grab your Kundalini class on March 29th, what time is that?
So that is at the Port Charlotte Fairgrounds, Port Charlotte Fairgrounds, before the Peace, Unity, Love, and Light Festival. And that is from 1 to 2 p.m. on March 29th. I will be joined by Jason Green and another young lady doing sound bowls. We will have a meditation first, followed by some, it is similar to Kundalini yoga, but it's actually, this in there. Ganja yoga.
Ganja yoga.
Ganja yoga.
We're on board.
So we are going to be I'm going to be teaching Ganja yoga.
Are we allowed to bring a bowl? And
I'm encouraging people to, if they have it, bring it. If you don't have it, they've got it there. So it does pair well. Marijuana pairs well with Ganja yoga. Marijuana pairs well with any yoga that you're not having to stand on one foot with.
Okay. Interesting. And it's at a reggae festival. So
it is a reggae. So the Peace, Unity, Love, and Light Festival is put on by the Green Brothers Farms. They are growers of the beautiful plant, and they're putting on this festival, and they have lots of vendors, and I'm going to be one of their vendors selling my book, For the Love of Gut.
Excellent. Will there be vendors selling fresh food?
I'm not really sure
Okay.
if there will be or not. There might be, but there's going to be lots of other kinds of holistic vendors. And if you guys, well, the co-op that you were talking about, I'm definitely interested in going out there. I've worked with a couple of co-ops. I used to get my vanilla beans from a co-op here in Naples, out in the Estates. But that one, I've seen that sign before. It's the second time I've heard of that, so I think I should check that out.
Yeah, it's down in South Punta Gorda, Vermont Road, so it's not close to the fairgrounds where you're going to be.
No,
it's a 40-minute drive away from there or so. But
yeah.
Well, I look for unless I have something going on, I'll probably be at that reggae.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Day.
I want to come to your class.
Oh yeah, it's going to be fun. Bring your mat. There'll be a sound bowl healing afterwards. So after the yoga class, there's a young lady that's going to do sound healing. So we'll have meditation, some Ganja yoga, and some sound healing, followed by an awesome reggae festival. So I can't think of any other better way to spend your March 29th.
Exactly. That sounds wonderful.
Oh, and today's your birthday, right?
It is.
Happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
Yes, happy birthday.
Yeah.
It's my niece's birthday too. Happy birthday to you.
Thanks. She shares a great day. I love it.
Well, thanks so much again, guys, for having me on. And I hope to get to talk to you guys again. And
we'll see you in 12 days at your
do too.
Little party you're going to have up there at the fairgrounds. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right, cool, Laura. Nice hanging out with you.
Thanks so much for joining us. This has been great, and we'd love to have you back in the future.
Great. I'd love to be back.
So if you just listen to this podcast and you appreciate the content and the work that we're doing, we would love your support. Look in the comment section of this episode. Subscribe, rate us, comment. This gets our podcast in front of other listeners. And if you noticed, we don't have advertisers. For the cost of a cup of coffee, you can help keep it this way. Become a supporter right now. We'd appreciate it.
I'm Jim the Yogi.
I'm Rick the BeachMan. Peace.